Hey there. Welcome to Gaia Daily for April 10th, 11th, 2020. How are you doing? Well, wow, here we are in this strange and interesting time. Again, we are feeling such a juxtaposition of dark, foreboding energies trying to very clearly hold down the frequency vibration with everything possible. And yet, nothing can stop this spiritual awakening. And every day, the energies on the earth, the energies of these soul groups, the energies of the spiritual awakening getting more and more. Now we're crossing over a threshold point as Mercury begins to come close to moving into Aries. Mercury is at 28 degrees Pisces today. And Mercury moved into Pisces on February 4th. So it's kind of like just to get a little perspective of how long we've been in this very strange tunnel of energies. And so just here in this next day, Mercury is moving into the sign of Aries. So this is a big shift because Mercury is our messenger. It's our day-to-day thinking. It's our conceptual reality. And of course, things have been weird. That really fits a Pisces energy because the Pisces energy is like moving over to Aries is kind of like removing the fog of this last couple of months of energies. And, it's interesting because the astrology right now is very supportive. And we need to keep this in mind as we are in this time right now, this crazy juxtaposition. And that when we step back and we step back and we step back into that bigger picture, which we've been practicing how to do this for lifetimes and evolutions, we have been waiting for this time for thousands of years and lifetimes. You came into this evolution, a fully evolved soul, for this time. So it's hard because we get in our day-to-day life and it's like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And how do I deal with these energies? And, when we're in the narrow right here, right now, this month, this week, this experience in this lifetime, very strange and can be incredibly disheartening. But that's not why we're here. And one part of the energy that's important to understand too is that as we raise our frequency vibration and the earth raises its vibration, we have a completely different relationship to time. And so that's really helpful right now to be like, oh, this is what's happening right this minute. But whoa, I've been in this huge, expansive, crazy play of events over lifetimes, and this is just happening right now. It's not going to be like this forever, even though that's definitely how the control energies are working. From the beginning, the control energies are using the mechanism of 3D, 4D reality, time, that old relationship to time, to keep us de-evolving. Creating the same patterns over and over so everything in the universe has a spin ratio to it. Our whole universe, our whole omniverse, everything out there is spinning and moving. Our solar system, spinning and moving forward towards that galactic center. This is also what our DNA is supposed to be doing. And it's what the chakras in our body, our energy centers in our physical body, our energy body, and also of the earth. The earth has chakras and so we are, this is the natural flow, right? And that's our natural state is moving, growing, expanding. That's the energy of our universe. So the way control energies have kept us so long back from our spiritual evolution is from this devolving energy where the spin ratio is going the wrong direction, or it's off balance, it's off kilter, because everything out there in our manifested world and this whole experience of galaxies and universes has to do with counter-rotating fields. This is the energy. This is free energy. This is the energy that creates worlds. This is the energy of how our body works, how our electromagnetic field, the electromagnetic field of the earth. So there's deep, deep mysteries here, and yet a very simple concept. So I'm going to be doing a meditation tomorrow called And We Rise, and it's about just kind of inching up that frequency, finding that permission in our collective, our group, coming together to find that permission, that worthiness within us to be the light that we are, to release the fear programming, step into that higher threshold, because again and again, the message is coming through is like, okay, now we're here waiting. And what are we waiting for? You know, and there is a huge amount of spiritual support available for us when we feel like we can receive that. And we know that this is all about raising our frequency, but we have to decide in this free will universe, the prime directive, one by one, each of us decide that we're worthy, which is silly because it's who we are, right? But we've been very much programmed to think we're not worthy, you know, so it's like to stay in this lower vibrational frequency. And so together we can come together and remind each other who we are, step over that threshold, invite our frequency vibration to inch it up, because these souls have been shown, you guys are here to be on the cutting edge of ascension. And that's why life has been so difficult for you over so many lifetimes. Because doesn't that make sense? It's like, instead of targeting all the population, which is what's happening now, you know, but it's like, why not target those souls that are the advanced souls that are on the cutting edge, are leading the way, right? And so if those souls are broken, traumatized, can't access, programmed, mind controlled, you know, then they can't access their higher frequency vibrations and permission for that, then that can hold the whole thing back, right? Except for what's happening right now is a shattering of those delusions, you know? And I think that's just the representation of this Mercury moving over to Aries on the Easter weekend, you know, and kind of the metaphor of this, of rising up from the ashes to our rebirth of who we are as spiritual beings, which of course is scary because we've been programmed with fear. Also, it's like we don't know who we are. You know, so it's hard to like allow yourself to step over this threshold when it's so unknown, you know, and that's a big energy of this time right now, except for that, you know, and that's why you're here. And that's why life's been so intense and weird for you. You know, this is a spiritual awakening. And then that's like everything that's happening right now. You know, you got to come. That's like the day-to-day mantra for me that's helping. It's like, oh, this is a spiritual awakening, right? Not get sucked into the lower vibrations, the frequencies, the fear, the hysteria, the things that are going on. Because, I mean, it just doesn't add up, right? You know, and so we have to take that step back and be willing to be in those higher frequency vibrations, allow that for ourselves. Now, we are under a lot of technological grid control. I do get the message that they didn't quite get the grid up to the point where it could totally like fry the planet and fry us. And so we are kind of, it's just this like spiritual vibrational war right now. And that's where we come in. Because we know on this other level, even though we don't know, but this other bigger part of ourselves totally understands spiritual ascension. And so it's like stepping into that energy, that vibration, and surrendering to this part of ourselves, the bigger part of ourselves that knows. And it's interesting because the meditation, it's noon tomorrow in Mountain Time. So the same time as the meditation last week. And the information to sign up for that is below. And I called it And We Rise because we're talking about rising frequencies, rising out of the ashes, rising out of that lower self, rising out of the lies. But on the other hand, we've been shown that spiritual ascension isn't actually ascending. It's about bringing those spiritual energies to earth, you know? And so it's like raising our frequency, but also embodying the light that we are, being the container. We are the ones that change the frequency to tip the scales, in this. It's like, yes, it's all moving, it's all happening. And the astrology right now is this pause. It's this great pause because we don't have a lot of transits going on. Now, of course, when we don't have a lot of transits going on, then it brings forward the minor transits. And the one thing that's really coming that's going to be super powerful, of course, is Mercury moving over into Aries. It's been, it moved into Pisces February 4th. So we've had 2 full months of this Mercury retrograde energy, and it went into shadow even before that, right, in January. So, and now when Mercury moves over into Aries, it's going to come into conjunction. This is mid next week. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 15, 16, 17, around there, Mercury will come into a conjunction first with Chiron at 6 degrees. Black Moon Lilith will be at 8 degrees at that point. And so that's going to be a big, big energy because Mercury wants to understand. And finally, we can get out of the veil of confusion from the Pisces energy. The reason why it's so confusing is because we're trying to move out of that Piscean age, which was built on delusion, control of humanity through spiritual energies. The Pisces spiritual energy is so beautiful. This visionary energy and spiritual revelation, right? But that energy was absconded and used to control humanity through this like Father God principle, right? So that was the Piscean age. That was all the persecution, the Dark Ages, Middle Ages, right? So this is the end of that game, is this astrology, because Chiron deep wounds for especially these souls not being able to be who you really are in your true spiritual self, having to shut your light down. This is a huge energy on the table right now, which is like, this is a good thing to remember when you feel yourself getting pulled into the tentacles, into the technological grid, into the dark energies, into the hopelessness, all is lost energies that are like encroaching upon us, even though we've got this big spiritual light coming in too, right? But to remember that we have done this before, and that this is about clearing those darkest places. So now that Mercury is coming out of those delusional energies and can maybe get some clarity and rise up with this Aries rebirth. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, so it's this rebirth energy. The sun is still in Aries. And so going with over Chiron. Okay, so that's what I lost my train of thought. So one of the things that's coming up around, like right now, a real strong realization and clarifying energy is that a lot of your pain in your life has come from where the tension from turning your light down in order to fit in order not to be persecuted, in order not to be called weird, in order not to be called too much, And it's like, wait a minute, this is what the world needs. That's this and we rise. It's coming out of like, I'm kind of seeing an exoskeleton, right? This exoskeleton has been this shell of protection. It's false protection, blocking our connection to intimacy, human connection, because these souls have been isolated with lower evolved beings. That's been part of the program, surrounded by control-based relationships. And then you think that's love. And that's why we've all been going through such difficult relationship situations, because it's like complete reprogramming has to happen. And you got to let go of all of that and say no to all those patterns before something else can come in. And so the tension and the pain, the origin, consider the tension and the pain, the origin of that pain in your life from where you have turned your light down, where you have pretended to be different, and where you've gotten the messages again and again that you're too much for this place. And it's like, whoa, 180-degree turnaround here, because you're exactly what this place needs right now, desperately. And all the whole time you have been. And now the energies are shifting to give you the spiritual support to step into the power turn that light on, and because it feels so good, but then you feel guilty, then you feel like, oh no, I should be over here, right? Deep subconscious stuff that keeps pulling us into the loyalty contracts. But so much of the pain and struggle for these souls has been fitting in to what the world has told you need to be to survive, to have some crumbs of love, to have some sort of connection. This is what the option, right? That's Chiron and Aries and Mercury coming out of this massive retrograde with not a lot of other stuff going on. And I mean, of course, we have Jupiter still close to Pluto, but it's like as far as tension aspects and stuff. And so Mercury, this is on center stage next week, the middle of the week. So probably the full week from, as it moves in, it's going to start moving as it's into Aries. So starting on Sunday, Monday, it's already coming into this conjunction. And then first Chiron, then Black Moon Lilith, these darkest secrets, right? So in your chart, Black Moon Lilith has to do with the dark side of the moon for you, the darkest places in your emotions of those lifetimes where you have been killed, persecuted, ostracized, cast aside, dark feelings of shame programmed around the light that you are. And so that's what's going on for the individual. And then also there's the collective energy of like, we've got to cleanse these dark energies off of our planet. Like we are evolving, and you can feel this in these soul groups. It's like our spiritual evolution means getting more and more sensitive, more and more empathic, more and more intuitive. And so, and Rudolf Steiner talked about this, about how in the future evolution, you won't be able to be in the same room with someone who's like hurting and not feel it. And this is our room on our planet, right? And it's like, so we can't allow these dark things to continue to be. It's like crippling us. This has been a big part of the pain over the last series of like this last period of time in our evolution too, is it's like this blooming of dark activities, cannibalism, pedophilia, satanic ritual abuse, and social experiments to affect the collective with like keeping people in cages and stuff, right? And it's like, okay, that shit cannot go on anymore, right? Like this is this heavy, heavy energy. And then of course you don't know why you have it. It's just like these souls. And then you're like, oh, I want to, move my evolution forward. And then you get more and more sensitive and then more and more crippled with dark energies. That's what's shifted. You finally have permission, right? So when we step back, we see, oh, okay. And those moments where you can feel this higher vibrational frequency, like right there. And that we have made it to the point where you can feel that this is what's really happening, when you step back. And we need to allow the other groups of souls to have their own experience here right now and take off the heavy burden of what we've carried for this earth evolution for so long, all the dark shadowy energy we've been processing. Now part of one piece, so that whole dark social experiment, that's one way that they've kept the energies vibrationally down. Of course, recently it's been technological interference as well. Another way that the control energies throughout time have kept the vibration down, and this has a lot to do with the Piscean age, and it's on the table right now, is stuck souls. So souls that have passed out of a physical form, but they can't go back to source. And a lot of times this has to do with just a lack of spiritual awareness. Like literally, I work with souls all the time. This is just a big part of the work you do as an intuitive. And a lot of times it's so amazing to work with a soul and they'll be like, they don't even realize they're dead because we've had such a been chained to this experience, to this material world through religious fear, right? So a lot of times, there's this feeling of like, well, I can't go meet source or God because it's outside of myself. I'm going to be punished. I'm going to go to hell. And it's like, so many of us don't really subscribe to these programming from the Piscean age. And yet It's deep inside of our psyche. So this ghost army is a way that the vibrations of the earth have been kept down. And so I've been feeling this, like a lot of stuck souls coming, like waking up to the fact that they're stuck. Right now, when there's a stuck soul, a lot of times they'll stay stuck because they have something they really want to communicate to somebody who's alive. They feel responsible for leaving someone. Again, they might not even know they're dead. So they're kind of like stuck. That's purgatory, And what is happening, I'm like, whoa, all these souls are like, there's just this huge, part of the shift that we're in right now energetically is these stuck souls waking up to the fact that they're stuck and being like, oh, I gotta move on from here, right? Like this, you can't, like, it's that whole thing. You can't stay in the birth canal forever. We got to go in or out, and that's the purgatory place too. And so this is an interesting energy. And if you're in tune to this, you might sense it, but there's a lot of support right now to help these stuck souls move on. And that lower astral plane. So this is just an example of this. When you have a stuck soul in your field, like a relative or a friend, or it might be somebody you don't even know, like your house is haunted or something. But it's the darkest feeling you can imagine. It's so dark. It's the darkest depression you can imagine, because it's that place between life and death. And it's like, we're the natural healthy progression of a soul, a spiritual evolved soul. They don't hold on to the earth. They're like, okay, there's a process of letting go and communicating with your loved ones, but then it's like, okay, now back to source, and so, and that's not a scary thing. I've helped countless souls do this transition, right? It's not scary. It's beautiful. And it's like, then they get excited about preparing for their next incarnation. And so that's a really interesting energy right now that could be really supportive and helpful. And maybe that is, as an advanced aware soul, you can will come into this kind of like, oh, okay. So, because when you work with these souls that are stuck, they, like I said, if there's a relative or somebody in your field that is not comfortable, doesn't realize they're dead, they haven't been able to let go of the earthly realm. This is part of the whole, so much programming is to keep us attached to the earth, materialism, to keep us thinking that this is who we are, our body, right? And fear of death and fear of spirituality and fear of spiritual ascension. And like elaborate rituals have been done in past lives to souls to keep them chained to the earth, keep coming back here, and that's all up for review right now. So that's huge. It's also strange, because these souls might want to talk to you. They might want your help. They might, you might need, so I don't know. Anyway, it's just an interesting time, but I'm just sensing like all of this. It's like that often happens around the time of year, around Halloween, where it's like the veil is thin, and it's kind of where like we're in like a permanent Halloween right now. It's just like really creepy. But then it's like really about the light coming in, this Easter season, the Mercury crossing that threshold into Aries, conjunction with Chiron, Black Moon, Lilith. It's time to move this, get this show on the road. The other thing that's happening is that the North, because we don't have a lot of transits. Oh, today Venus goes into its retrograde shadow. So we're in retrograde season, and it lasts through into, let's see, Venus comes out of shadow at the end of July. So we've entered and it's interesting because it's like Mercury just got out of shadow. It's just moving into, and now we're in Venus shadow. Then Venus retrograde energy is going to overlap with Mars retrograde energy. But the cool thing about that is that it makes Venus and Mars stay in trine with each other for this whole month. So we got to tap into that energy. Like I said, very, very supportive energies right now about crossing over the boundaries, reaching first in emotional intimacy and understanding and opening our mind to new ideas. That's what this period of time is about. But those transits, we got to reach out and grab those, the beneficial ones. Now, the North Node's at 1 degree now, which puts it in an inconjunct to Saturn, meaning like across the way and one sign over, which means semi-sextile, one sign over from the South Node. So this is an interesting energy. And since there's not a lot else going on, it's on the table. And so an inconjunct is something, an adjustment that needs to be made. And so if we're looking at that with the North Node in Cancer, very last degrees of the North Node in Cancer, a year and a half of this period of time. Then we've got Saturn at 1 degree Aquarius, dabbling its feet. This is as far as Saturn goes right now into Aquarius until December, when Jupiter and Saturn together move over to Aquarius. Epic energies. And so this North Node in an inconjunct to Saturn is speaking like, okay, because the North Node's how are we going to move forward? And it's about Cancer receiving, coming back into love and being cared for. This is the key. This is going to be a big thing, I think, in the meditation tomorrow. It's like, that, okay, so yeah, spiritual ascension energies are out there, but do you deserve them? Uranus and Taurus, and can you receive them? If you didn't come into this world feeling loved and received on the earth as the light being that you are, you had to turn it down, you had to fit in, you had to squeeze yourself into situations and be constantly uncomfortable, And so it's like, do you deserve it? And can you receive it? Right? And that's what this inconjunct to Saturn in Aquarius, because Saturn is about building a new world, building a new paradigm. But we'll be stuck here forever if we don't think we deserve it and we can't receive it. And that's you guys. If you're on the cutting edge, it's about you and being like, oh, God, I've been turning this light down for so long. I thought that's who I was, the constant turning it down and fitting in. And it's like, no, we need you. We need you and you're full. So that's what the meditation is about tomorrow too. This full expression of your light, coming into who we really are in our bigger self, dropping all those old stories, and then maybe looking at the authority contracts around permission and using our collective consciousness, connecting with our soul groups to feel, to receive, come into that great mother energy of the support that's available now in this time. Right? The support is not for staying stuck, soul. The support is not for staying in lower evolution or de-evolution. The support right now is only for this, even if it's negative right now. Everything that's happening is for spiritual awakening and ascension. That's why you're here. That's why you've dealt with all this stuff for so long. And it's like time to step over that threshold and allow your vibration to rise, and it's just little by little getting more comfortable with it. But knowing that that's why you're here. It's your destiny. You finally get to do what you're here to do, and it feels really good because you don't have to turn it down anymore. You don't have to make anybody else happy anymore. It's about you being happy and shining your light and sharing it with the world in the way you want to. But first, you got to fill your cup and be the container. We're this pillar between heaven and earth. We are the container of this cosmic vibration. And so I hope you can join me for that And We Rise World Meditation tomorrow at noon Mountain Time. That's 11 Pacific. And that is 2 p.m. on the West Coast, 1 p.m. Central Time. So I pulled some tarot cards last night, and I just thought I'd share them with you because it was such an interesting picture of what came forward. And I think it's just a really cool energy for us right now. And this was a 3-card spread, which is situation, action, outcome, or past, present, future, right? Both fit in this reading. And the first card was the Devil reversed. Now look at that. If you can see, it's the same card as the Lovers, but they're chained to the earth, and here we have just like all of the dark Black Moon Lilith energies that are trying to be released out of our world. And the Lovers are chained to materialism. Those are those stuck souls, but it's reversed, meaning this is the situation, is that this is leaving. This is what is changing, our trap into materialism. Now, the second card, the action to be taken, or the present time, is the Magician, which is 1. And this is kind of the energy of the meditation tomorrow. It's 1, Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. It's the beginning. It's the oneness, right? It's like coming out of duality consciousness, a big energy of the meditation tomorrow about coming into our bigger, true spiritual self. And coming into our oneness collective consciousness together. And the cool thing about the magician, he's got infinity and he's got all the elements, which is the astrology recently. This is what we've been having, all the elements together, working together to create, come back to the garden, right? So finding our oneness, our spiritual oneness is how we do this. And then really cool for the outcome card, we got justice, which is 11, and really cool energy with that Libra full moon this week, and everything we want for our planet, spiritual justice, where it's the end game for these dark energies that get all the good stuff, right? Like they get all the wealth and the mansions and the cool underground bunkers, right? And they get to do whatever they want of evil deeds while we're struggling with this heavy planetary karma. End game, right? A new beginning. So now it's time for us to rise and to we know we're here to, just come do what we're here to do right now. Play our role, which is to take that, know we deserve, and allow and receive support to take this vibration up a notch or two into that incredible, expansive joy that's available for all of us in these higher frequency vibrations. The other thing that's on the table for this meditation is that we have in our electromagnetic field, our magic, our vortex technology, our counter-rotating field technology that we have in our own body can protect us from all of the technological interference. And that's a really good energy to work with tomorrow too. So I hope I see you there. And I'll also have an update in the morning too. So I'll see you on the update or the world meditation or both. Thank you so much for being here, this part of this new way of fighting, this new divine masculine, this new army of light together. And so I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.